Hello everyone and welcome to the inaugural video for a new series I'm thinking of doing on a weekly basis called Wraeclastonomics. Now that's quite a mouthful, but I'm a pretty big fan of portmanteaus, so that's kind of what I came up with, and that's what we're going to use. Anyways, if you don't know me, I'm Nerdstalgic, and I've been playing Path of Exile for quite some time off and on, and one of the things that I really enjoy doing is uh, accruing currency. Currency, it's kind of like my favorite thing to do. I like to I like to acquire wealth. So, in order to acquire wealth, you really kind of have to have an idea of what you have, especially in Path of Exile, where there are so many different kinds of currency. So, the currency rates are always shifting and always changing in Path of Exile. So what you can do is you can kind of sit in trade chat, and that's basically what I've done. Is I've sat in trade chat and kind of observed some, I guess you'd say, trends that have been occurring within the past few days. So I thought I would maybe share it with you, so that you can empower yourself with this knowledge, and it might help you to make more beneficial trades for you. So I'm just going to go over some of the different some of the different currencies in the game. Most of them I will cover. Some of them I do have not enough data to actually give you a rate on. So simply because maybe I haven't even seen them traded, or I've only seen them traded a few times, so I can't really say if that's an accurate rate or not. So let's start at the top. Scrolls right up here, that would be Scrolls of Wisdom and Town Portals. You can sometimes see these going higher or lower. These are all just going to be average rates, but a general rule of thumb for scrolls right now is that they are trading at 160 for one in terms of chaos. Some people like to try to get a bit more out of their chaos, and some people might try to buy a little cheaper than this, but generally this is what you should be looking to get, is about 160 scrolls for one chaos. So I guess rate and chaos isn't exactly true here. That would be 160 for one chaos. Transmutations are going to be about 40 to 1 right now, is what I've seen them at. I've seen them, a few people have been trying to advertise, selling transmutes at 30 to 1. Some people have been buying as high as 60 to 1, but I am figuring that the pretty much the standard rate of 40 to 1 is basically what you should look for in this trade. Augmentations, this isn't really something that sees a lot of motion on the market. Not a lot of people actually go out of their way to buy or sell these. So you can see I've put ISD here in the rate box, and that means insufficient data. So I'm not really willing to give you any kind of a rate on this. It's also not really a market that I am really too active in either, so that could also play into that. Whetstones generally seem to be going for about 20 to 1. There's a lot of, because of the changes in the meta with chisel use and stuff, people are whetstoning more than ever. Their gavels and things like that to get quality. So I have seen quite a bit of motion in the whetstones market. So 20 to 1 is probably a pretty good rate for somebody who is looking to sell armors. 40 to 1, it's pretty standard. I have seen some prices that have been a little bit higher than that, perhaps 50 to 1 or even 60 to 1, but yeah. Baubles, I have seen a few bauble trades go down, but typically they're few and far between, so I'm not really willing to give you any kind of a rate, a definitive average on that. Chromes and alts, you'll typically see kind of go one for one to each other, and there's quite a bit of a swing in this number. A lot of people, specifically currency flippers, are trying to purchase these at 20 for every one chaos. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. You can get a better deal than that. Don't buy into what the flippers are trying to sell you. It should be very easy to get at least a trade at 17 to 1, and I think 16 to 1 is probably doable. Jewelers, the pretty much 8 to 1 is a fairly standard rate for jewelers. I have seen some people trying to sell at 7 to 1. I myself have tried to move at 7 to 1 and have not had any luck with that. So jewelers appear to be holding pretty fast at 8 to 1. Chance orbs also 8 to 1. Chisel, I've seen people selling at 2 to 1. I've seen people selling at 3 to 1, and I've seen people trying to buy at 4 to 1. So what you kind of have to do in any of these transactions is sort out who's flipping and who's not flipping, and usually somewhere in the middle lies the truth. Uh, Chisels, I think the rate is somewhere between 2.5 to 3 to 1. 3 to 1 has always kind of been the classic rate for chisels, but as I had mentioned earlier, with the meta and the chisels are being used quite a bit more often, that's caused a little bit of a push on chisels, so they have become a bit stronger against the chaos. So you would basically be looking at about 2.5 chisels for every one chaos on average. Fuse, in the last league was super strong. It actually almost pulled even with Chaos at one point, 1 to 1. But I've seen a great depreciation in this league in terms of Fuse versus Chaos, and it's pretty standard to see Fuse going 2 to 1, which is kind of like the old rate for Fuse. So 2 to 1, easy to get. I've actually myself secured some rates that have actually been better than that. So 2 to 1 is your rate you're looking for. Alks, some people like to try to get them at 2.5 to 1 or even 3 to 1, but with the map meta, everything's about the meta, guys. When it comes to the when it comes to the economy in Path of Exile, if you understand the meta, then a lot of these fluctuations make a hell of a lot more sense. So if you're wanting to get into the currency game, if you're wanting to understand a little bit more, maybe if you're just even wanting to make a little bit more currency, just a smidge, try to pay a little bit more attention to the meta. People with their maps, under the old system of basically transmute alt until you got pack size and go, it doesn't work anymore. People are having to alch maps way earlier than they normally would have, which is putting some positive pressure on alks versus chaos. So 2 to 1 is where we're sitting on alks at the moment. Scours 2 to 1, very standard. Blessed orbs, haven't seen a lot of motion on those in the trade channels, so I'm marking that as insufficient data. And of course, chaos trades for chaos at 1 to 1. Veil orbs kind of go into the meta with the map meta that's currently going into effect. Last league Veil orbs definitely were closer to like you'd get 2 Veil for 1 chaos, but right now to get a good trade, to make sure you get your trade on Veil, you're probably going to be looking more at 1 for 1. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't trades out there, say it may be like 1.25 for 1. I have made a few of those, but the days of getting 2 Veil for 1 chaos are long gone, and I think 1 for 1's probably the new trade. It's going to be the new point. Regrets 1 for 1. That's a very, very standard rate for that. Regals are 2 for 1. Exalt has seen a lot of inflation since the league has started. When the league started, it was around 40 to 1, which is a pretty standard rate for now. Not meaning standard league, but just it's kind of been established as sort of a rate over the past few leagues for Exalt. But as I've sat in trade chat, I've just watched it steadily move up, and a lot of people are saying that it's because of the flippers. I'm not so sure that I buy into all of that. Maybe the flippers are playing a role in that. They might be influencing the market a little bit in terms of driving it up, but I think a lot more of it has to do with the fact that Eternals were taken out of the game, so you're seeing more of that YOLO exalting that we all love. Anyways, back to the point. 50 to 1 is pretty common. The market is still kind of recoiling a little bit from this Exalt jump. 50 to 1 seems to be kind of like a mental break point for people where they see it, and a lot of people, your average player says, WTF, what is going on? But people are buying at 50 to 1. I've even seen people as high as 52 to 1 buying, not selling, buying. I've seen selling as high as 60 to 1, which I think those people were being a little bit optimistic in their chances, but it's at 50 to 1 right now. I'm not really sure what it's going to do. given that people are buying at 52, 51 pretty regularly, even in off hours. I mean, if you really could say Path of Exile has any off hours, since it's such a beloved global game, um, it could appreciate even more on average over 50 to 1. So GCP is currently sitting at 2 to 1, and Divine is actually seeing some action between 10 to 15. So I've listed it at 12. I've seen some volatility here. I think the price is trending upwards. So I listed it at 12. That's probably where you're going to get your deals at. So, and of course, Mirror of Calandra. I have not seen any listed rates in trade chat for mirrors. They are out there. I have seen people selling them, but they are not listing any buyouts. And I myself have no knowledge of what the mirror is actually going for. So I'm not going to put any kind of a number to it. I'm sure some of you who are watching this perhaps have knowledge of that. If you want to list it in the comments and I can add it into next week, that'd be great. But yeah, so there you have it. This is kind of like the currency report for this week. This is what I'm seeing, and I'm gonna try to put one of these out every week, maybe on a Friday, and we'll just see. It might be interesting to see over time how these rates change, because of course some of them are going to go up, some of them are going to go down, but that remains to be seen. So, anyways, if you've enjoyed this video, great. Look forward to another one next week, and if you have any input on what you'd like to see in this video, I've got some other ideas of things that I might like to do, such as maybe talking about some uniques that are seeing some action, wild swings and such in that respect. But I decided for today's video, I did start working on some unique stuff, and then I just said to myself, this could get really overwhelming, because there are a great deal of uniques in Path of Exile, and if I really wanted to talk about all of the uniques that deserve attention, it's going to probably double or triple the whole time of this video. So the only thing that I guess I will throw in unique wise on the end of this video, and most of you probably already know this, but the warband specific uniques that they drop from the lieutenants, if you manage to grab one, if one drops, do not identify it unless you are going for that challenge where you have to identify this stuff. Reason being, people are paying absolute top dollar right now for those, for the blanks is what it's called, on those uniques, especially the rings. The rings are seeing some really some people are going after those rings really hard. Now, this price could change once you have 50 people who have completed the challenge. The price probably will go down a little bit, and it also could see some. We could see some difference here whenever 2.0.1 comes out and introduces the new Chaos Generals. So, and that is due out, I believe, on Friday, so the day of this posting. I'm recording this on Thursday. So anyways, thank you for joining me for Wraeclastonomics, and like I said, if you got any input on this, anything to add, feel free to hit me up in the comments, or you can find me in game at Nerdstalgic. So until next time, game on.